Hey fam, and welcome back to the show. I am your host, Megan Hardy, and I'm the founder of Fitness Uncharted, which is my fitness and nutrition coaching company that I designed to help women build muscle, lose fat, improve your metabolism so that you can feel healthy and confident and have complete food freedom, which is something that a lot of fat loss or diet programs are missing is that whole food freedom piece. And it's so important. Who cares if you have a fit, toned body, but you have a terrible relationship with food and you're hating your life, right? So that's why I created the Fitness Uncharted. That's also why I have this podcast, The Muscle Makeover. And today I want to talk about a remedy for analysis paralysis so that you can reach your fitness goals, or said otherwise, like a way to overcome analysis paralysis, which AKA that just means that you are over analyzing what you're doing or what you should do. I talk to a lot of women every week, whether that is through social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, my clients, new clients, prospective clients, people that we are getting on strategy calls and free consultation calls. I talk with a lot of people. And one of the biggest things that I hear as an issue is that there's so much information out there, right? There is an abundance of information. We do not have, in 2025, we do not have a lack of knowledge. We have a lack of applied knowledge, or a lack of knowing what knowledge applies to us and what the biggest priorities should be, right? Because there's so much information on Google, on podcasts, even like this one. Like there's so many fitness podcasts and fitness influencers, like different diets and programs. Like, how are we supposed to know what applies to us uniquely? And I see this as a common trend where people are just like, now I'm over analyzing and I am paralyzed because I'm over analyzing. And some of my, favorites, or some that I hear the most, are things like, I listen to so many fitness podcasts and have been doing so much research, but I still don't know what to focus on or what applies to me specifically. Or I hear, there's so much information out there, it is overwhelming. Or I've tried so many things, Megan, and I don't know what to try next. And I don't want to waste more time or money trying to figure it out. So I'm just not doing anything. And I will say for this one, this is kind of a catch 22, because really any of your efforts aren't wasted. You really aren't wasting your efforts if you have the right perspective and you've learned something from it. Like, we can even learn from our, quote unquote, failed attempts at anything, at dieting or otherwise. And I know for me personally, like, I learned so much about dieting the right way by dieting the wrong way. With, when I was doing restrictive diets, when I was doing excessive cardio to try to get toned, when I was under eating, when I had a binge restrict relationship with food. I learned a lot from that. And because of that, those failed experiences, I now have the knowledge and the empowerment that I have today because I went through that. So, with the right perspective, even if you've done the wrong things, like, you can actually still, catapult yourself forward from those things. But I also get it. Like, we don't want to keep spinning our wheels. We don't want to keep throwing our money down the drain. We don't want to keep wasting our time, right? Or my personal favorite that I hear often is, Megan, I feel like I should know what to do, but I don't know why. I'm just not doing it. Or like, maybe I just need more discipline, or like, I don't know. I feel like I should know, but like, something's not working. I'm missing a piece to the puzzle. I've listened to so much stuff. I've researched so much. I feel like I should know, but I don't know what to do. AKA, y'all, analysis paralysis, i.e., analysis paralysis is setting in. Or it's also very likely a need for external accountability, which is really hard for some of us, self-driven go-getters to admit that even we sometimes need accountability. Like, there are plenty of my clients who, they do actually know on a logical level what to do. Like, they're very smart people. They have done a lot of their own research. They are no novice to, or newbie to, working out or training or macros or anything like that. But for some reason, they're not implementing. And oftentimes it falls back to an accountability piece. And most of my clients, many of my clients are very self-driven, type A, go-getter type of women. And they're the ones that are, it's especially hard to be like, shoot, I just need some help and accountability. And I am that person myself. So when I first hired my first coaches, I am the person, I'm like, I'm a resourceful person. I'm a smart woman. I am self-disciplined. Like I don't need someone to come motivate me every day to, do my work, whatever. But I needed help and I still need it. I'm working with coaches today. I've worked with coaches for many years because I just needed the accountability. So that's a whole other element to it. But also for myself, even, I've found that when I am looking for information or looking to improve, whether that's usually it's for me, like on the fitness side of things, pretty good there, right? But that for me, it might be on the business side of things or marketing or things like that. And I'm like, okay, let me go Google, right? Well, y'all, I'm going to waste so much time and I'm probably going to have analysis paralysis or shiny object syndrome with all of the different ideas versus, okay, honing in and figuring out one solution. So I wanted to bring up this topic of analysis paralysis and how we can overcome that very easily. This should actually be a very short episode, hopefully. Sometimes I get wordy, but I just want to give you like an example of, how to overcome this. And it's going to be pretty straightforward. But I wanted to address this early in the year because we are pretty early into 2025 when this is going to be released. And this is something that, there's no special thing about the new year, but it's like, don't let another year pass you by where you are paralyzed. That is just like, to me, the worst thing that could happen. And there's two quotes that I want to share with you that I've heard recently. I've heard them before, at least one of them, but especially with the new year being recently, I have very recently seen these posts again, which reminded me. And one of them is that if nothing changes, then this year won't be a new year. It will just be another year. Like, let that sink in for a second. If nothing changes, this won't be a new year. It's just going to be another year. You're just going to get a little older. You're just going to get a little more wrinkly, just a little grayer. But you're not going to have any extra wisdom or capabilities or skills or, success or finances or physique or anything to show for it, right? If nothing changes. So that's really can be like, oh, shoot, like, okay, a slap in the face, but also a motivator, right? Like, we've got to change something. And then also the other quote is that knowledge isn't power, applied knowledge is power. And I was like, ooh, that's good because I've always said myself, like, knowledge is power. Because I'm like, I do believe the more knowledge that you have, the more empowered you can be. But really, if we talk about analysis paralysis and all of these different women that I talk with on a daily basis who have so much knowledge, they are smart, they have so much knowledge, education, research, all the things. They have so much knowledge, but it's actually not empowering them. And that's because it's applied knowledge that is power. And so we have to learn how to apply it. So before I share my very quick, solution for overcoming analysis paralysis, I want to share with you even just a little story of my own overcoming like paralysis as of recently. And this doesn't have necessarily to do with fitness, but it'll correlate and you'll see. And I want to just share this little personal story with you guys. So like, as you may have seen on social media, I recently moved from Virginia to Utah. And, you might ask like, oh, what's in Utah? And I'd say, great question. Lots of mountains and Mormons and yeah, not too many coffee shops, not too many local coffee shops. The closest Starbucks is like 25 minutes away, but for real, my husband Justin and we always wanted to move southwest. And the original goal was Arizona, but a series of events led us to Utah, and I'll spare you the details. For this episode in an effort to keep it on the shorter side. But really, moving southwest was within our quote unquote 5-year plan after getting married. And well, we are coming up on 5 years of being married, which is awesome. So we got married in 2020, hashtag COVID wedding. Um, but this was a plan of ours that has been in the works. And we've been, doing things like saving up and planning in small ways, but have not really like hadn't really, pulled the trigger on exact locations or things like that. There was a lot of pieces that still had to fall into place to make this work. And really, it didn't make sense to other people, like our friends or our family. Like, we weren't moving for a job. We don't have friends or family in Utah. We literally we're here now and creating new friends and new, adopted family and trying to create new community. But we didn't come here because like, oh, our family's in Utah. Nope, don't know a soul in Utah. Um, and then job wise, I work for myself and my husband works completely remotely. So for his company. So people are like, why? And we're like, because it's a goal, it's a dream of ours. And also it really didn't make any sense for the time and the season that we were in. We had actually, this past year lost our baby Kai, and you could say it was like a midlife crisis. I went ahead and got a puppy. We moved to Utah, like all these things, right? But it all just kind of transpired to this point. We made a cross country move with a 16-week-old puppy. So we probably wouldn't have gotten the puppy if we realized we were going to be making the move when we did. But it worked out just fine. We had Oreo, who's about 3.5 years old. And we had Rolo, who was like 16 weeks old at the time. They did great for a 4-day trip across the country. But we made that cross country move, and I had just found out that I was pregnant again. So, yeah, what? It was like, wait, y'all are what? Like, my friends and family, we told them pretty early on that we were pregnant, especially after our miscarriage prior. We were like, we don't want to keep this a secret. And there it really is, the quote unquote safe zone of 12 weeks is just kind of a illusion. So we were like, we want to tell people early on, we want to celebrate this life that we have early on. So people knew we were pregnant. They knew we just got a puppy. They were like, what is going on? It was pretty sudden, or it felt pretty sudden to other people, even though we had told them like, hey, Arizona at the time was in our goals and plans. But then it turned into Utah, you know, by a change of events pretty kind of suddenly. But that choice has changed our life. Like the choice of moving to Utah and just doing it. That has truly changed our life. And every day, correlating this back to you guys and maybe back to your fitness journey, every day people use all sorts of very rational reasons to avoid making a decision. Like, I had plenty of rational reasons. I was pregnant again. Like, you could talk about like business or finances or having a puppy or whatever. Like, those are all rational reasons to not move. Having no family in Utah and I'm pregnant. Like, talk about it takes a village. I don't have a village out here, right? Rational reasons. Like, even with you with your fitness journey, you probably have very rational reasons of avoiding making a decision. And that's why a lot of people remain stuck and they avoid change and really cling more so to comfort or just what's familiar, right? But the thing is, we are always just one decision away from completely changing our direction. And for us, Justin and I knew that we could keep talking about it, like moving to Utah or moving Southwest, or we could actually be about it. And we had talked about it for going on 5 years at this point. And we were like, we want to actually be about it. And we know it's going to be scary no matter what. Like whether we pull the trigger today or we are waiting to pull the trigger at some future date that we think is going to be better or easier, right? It's always going to be scary because it's going to be new territory. And it was scary. It was unknown. It was full of what ifs. So many what ifs. I can't even go into the details of like moving out here. So many different things that had to fall into place with, renting out our current house and finding a new house and the dogs and the pregnancy and finding new doctors and OBs and our jobs and friends and family and like all the things, right? Like so many what ifs. There's still a lot of what ifs. I'm not going to lie. Being out here right now, there's still a lot of what ifs. But we both agreed that the worst, the absolute worst what if would be if we never gave it a shot and we always had to wonder, what if we had moved? Like if we stayed back in Virginia and we were like, well, that was more comfortable, more familiar, it really was easier. It would have been the easier choice. Like, y'all, I never want to make a cross country move again. That is not for the faint of heart. And I definitely don't want to have to do it with two dogs and a baby again, right? Like, I'm like, I just, nope, I don't care to do that. But the worst thing would have been if we were still in Virginia going, like, whether that's today or 10 years from now, going, like, what if we had moved? Like, what if we had done it? Like, what would it have been like? That would have been the worst, 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 worst what if. And this applies whether you're trying to, move across the country or trying to lose weight sustainably, or whether you're trying to improve your body composition or just create a healthy relationship with food. And if you feel stuck, like the thing is, you guys, that no decision is actually a decision and it's choosing to stay where you are. And if that's what you want, fine. But if you want more and if you want something different, then you have to decide and you have to commit. I think a lot of people, they, say they want a certain thing, but they don't actually commit to it. And it's not always going to be easy. Like sometimes you're going to feel super skeptical or afraid. I'll even say a lot of the time you'll feel very skeptical or afraid. Sometimes you'll think you should wait until you find the quote unquote perfect time or the, quote unquote secret strategy to make it happen. It's like we think, okay, maybe once I have more time or more money or whatever, we just think it's going to be, make things less scary or easier. And yes, there is something to be said, like for sure. Again, like we were planning, it's not like on a whim we just got up and moved. Like we had been saving and doing different things, yes, to plan for it. But we could have kept saving and planning for another 10 years and still not been ready, right? So there's really no perfect time. There's no secret strategy you're missing. The secret is, or the missing piece that you're looking for, it isn't another, let's say, like fad diet or a perfect training split. Like, again, relating this back to fitness, I have so many people that are like, just tell me, like, what's the magic workout? Like, what workouts do you do, Megan? Or it's like, there's this, like, they just think there's this magic thing, or like, what supplements do you suggest or prefer? Right. And these are genuine, legit questions and things I help out my clients with. So, it's like, yes, there is something to that, but that's not just this one magic piece or thing that they're missing. It's really, for most people, it's the willingness to choose and to try a different approach and to commit to seeing it through. And that's what, people get in analysis paralysis because they're not willing to make a choice. And, there's so many options. They aren't willing or they don't even know what choice to make, or they're too scared to try a different approach because they're like, I don't know if this approach works, number one. And then secondly, I don't know if it's going to work for me. We have this complexity bias, is what it's called, where we think we're a magic unicorn somehow. And like, yeah, this might work for everyone else, but like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work for me. It could be something so straightforward like brushing your teeth. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if brushing my teeth is going to be like really going to work for me, like help me not get cavities. Like, well, more than likely it will. So, but we have this kind of unicorn mindset, or like we're just scared. We're just scared from our past dieting history and quote unquote failures to try a different approach. And then also to have, the commitment to actually see it through versus, I think one thing that people often do with analysis paralysis is you feel like you're doing a good thing by listening to the podcasts, like even this podcast, like listening to it makes no difference if you don't go and apply the information. But we feel good if we are absorbing all this information. We're like, okay, I did a good thing today. Like I listened to this podcast. One of the biggest things that I ask, like, as you guys know, I have a coaching company. My business is one-on-one nutrition and fitness coaching. So people pay me for that information and help and accountability and knowledge, right? It's really the accountability. I'm not going to lie, but because everything's out there on Google. But with this free podcast and all the free resources I give to people, the biggest ask that I have is don't just read or listen to this. Go and do it. Like, don't let this just be another piece of information for you. like actually see it through, right? And trust me, like as far as our journey across the country, Justin and I had 1,000 of reasons, or you could call them excuses. I would say those go like reasons slash excuses hand in hand. Just the more positive way to say it or the more negative connotation. But we had plenty of reasons or excuses not to make this move. Like so many reasons, you guys. Like if we actually had made a pros and cons list, probably would have been just like a handful more pros than cons, right? Like there were plenty of reasons to not move, but there were more reasons to make the move. And we made a plan, we committed, and we saw it through. And since arriving in Utah, we've had so many just really cool God moments and confirmations that we made the right decision. Like, and again, I won't get into the details, but like literally the day after we arrived, I had my first OB appointment with a new provider here. And that was just such a God moment thing. And it was just like thing after thing of just like confirmations that we were like, okay, this was the right choice and decision. But those confirmations didn't come until after we took action and committed. I would have never known we would have gotten these confirmations unless we had taken the action and we actually committed. So, back to those two quotes from the beginning of the episode that I mentioned. One, if nothing changes, then this year won't be a new year. It'll just be another year, which sucks, right? And the second quote is knowledge isn't power, applied knowledge is power. And there's two words I want you to grab out of those quotes. The first one is change. So if nothing changes, this year is going to be the same. And the applied knowledge, AKA the application. So change and application. And both of those things require what? What is the common theme with change and application? They both require action, you guys. And that's where I'm sure you've heard the quote, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's literally what you have to do. Like, let's simplify it so much. You have to take action. And even if it is the wrong choice, if you have the right perspective and mindset, you are going to learn something from it. And you will, maybe it's a detour, but you will find your way to the right choice. Inaction is the only way that you're going to stay stuck. Analysis paralysis is the way that you're going to stay stuck by over consuming information and not actually applying it. Not making a decision is a decision. And that's why, even you guys on my coaching calls and my free consultation calls, I let people know like, there's no pressure from me. Like, I am not here to push you into coaching or push you one way or another. I am here to help you make the best decision for yourself, literally, whatever that is. Like, either shit or get off the pot, right? I'm sure some of you have heard that quote. Like shit or get off the pot, man. Like, what you gonna do? Because not making a decision is how you stay stuck, right? So like the indecision, a lot of times when people say like I just need to think about it, or I need to, whether it's coaching or whether it's making a move across country or whatever, the majority of people are not sitting back on their rocker thinking about it. Let's be honest. None of us have time for that. Like, well, we do, but we're probably scrolling social media instead. We are not actually contemplating, thinking, decision making, thinking about it. We're not. It's just we just move on with our lives and we go back to the comfortable and familiar because of analysis paralysis and needing to quote unquote think about it. You got to stop thinking about it. You got to decide and make a decision. And that's where, if you are ready to stop searching for the magic solutions and start actually building something real and sustainable for yourself, whether that is improving your health and fitness or building a lifestyle that you absolutely love, then I am here to help you with that too. Just shoot me a DM and we can talk about what that would look like as far as coaching. But most people listening to this, you probably want not only the physique and the fit, toned body composition, but you also want the lifestyle that you really love. You want the food freedom piece, right? That's why most people who I talk to who are listeners of the show listen to the show, because they're like, I want both of those things. Like, I don't want to have to choose one or the other. I want a social life, I want food freedom, and I also want a banging bod that I feel really confident in, right? So if that's you and you really want to make that decision, scroll down to the show notes. You can book a call to apply for coaching, or you can just shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook. We can talk more. Whether you do that or not, again, I am not here to push you into coaching. I am here for you to make a decision. And that's what I want this episode to be. So you can get out of that freaking funk of analysis paralysis. Okay. And I'm really speaking from my heart and from love here because I am an over analyzer for sure, like such an over analyzer and a perfectionist, which makes me a procrastinator because I'm like, okay, if I can't find the perfect way to do this or I can't do it perfectly, I don't want to do it yet. But that actually hinders me and paralyzes me. I know that about myself, so I really do my best to work through that and against that. But it's something to be aware of if you're not already. Your over analysis and your need for perfectionism is stalling you. So, what do you need to do? You need to make the choice. Step one, make the choice. What is it going to be? Step two, decide what you're going to do to change and be real specific here because that means like, are you signing up for coaching? Are you going to get more steps? Are you going to hit your 10K step goal? Okay. Are you working out 3 days a week? Are you tracking macros? Are you whatever? Fill in the blank. But like decide what you're going to do to change because otherwise, if you make a choice, like, okay, the choice might be, all right, this year I'm getting my health in order. Like I am taking ownership of my fitness and it's going to be a priority. Okay, that's the choice. But now you got to decide step two is what are you going to do to make that happen, right? Step three is actually apply the changes. So, what does that mean? AKA take action. And this is where our analysis paralysis people get stuck. They get stuck in deciding what to do to make those changes because they're like overstimulated. They have over Googled everything, right? But you really just need to make a decision and take action on something. And whether you are making that decision on your own or you're hiring a coach to help you make those decisions so you can prioritize the big rocks that matter most, I don't care. But make the decisions. And even if you make the wrong one, you're going to learn from it if you have that correct perspective and mindset. I have made a lot of wrong decisions in fitness and dieting and business. Like I could give you a laundry list. But the thing is, I've actually learned probably just as much or even more in some cases from my failures than I have my successes. And now I have my successes thanks to my failures. So, whatever you do, don't be afraid of failing as long as you're taking action and you're failing forward, you're still making progress. So, I'm going to leave you with that. I don't know how long this was. I should have timed it because it's probably longer than I thought. I was like, this is going to be a really quick one. I was like, 10 minutes, we're 10 minutes in and out, but I don't think that happens. So, anyway, you guys, I hope this was encouraging for you and also a little bit of kick in the pants. Actually, I'm not going to lie. I hope it was a big kick in the pants for you because I love you. And go do something with this, go take action, and I'll catch you on the next episode.